Welcome to the webinar today. My name is Chaz Robbins with Spire, and I'm excited to have you for this webinar on a better health insurance solutions for churches. So, I know I know what you're thinking. All right, I'm here. Great. A webinar about health insurance. Could my day get any worse? Not generally the thing that you think about that lights our fire, get excited, but you're in for a real treat with Josh here
Presentation up there. But
because Josh is gonna make you paying attention like this is the last donut in the church lobby. He's that gifted with insurance, and Josh is unique in the fact that he spent 5 years doing full-time ministry, working with his dad, having other different ministry opportunities, and so he gets the side of the church world talking about budgets and benefits and wondering how it all fits together. But he's also spent 25 years in the insurance world, including leadership at Allstate Health, where he's done a number of different things, building systems that serve thousands of organizations across the country. So I think you're going to really benefit, as I have, in getting to know Josh from his experience and his insight and his expertise. And so, and if you're like me, I see like understanding insurance as a spiritual gift. So Josh has that in spades. And Josh, welcome. Thanks for being with us
Thanks so
today.
much, Chaz. I appreciate it. I appreciate all of you taking a little time out today. As Chaz mentioned, hopefully this will be informative. We know that health insurance in particular is one of the biggest budget line items that churches have to face every year. And unfortunately, when you get that renewal in the mail, you never know what it's going to be, and it can really put a wrench in some of your other plans. So we want to talk a little bit today about how we can help you get out of that loop and hopefully give you some, at least more information that you can either go back to your existing broker, or if you choose to work with us at BSA, hopefully we can put you on a little bit better path. As Chaz mentioned, I actually have been in ministry myself at a mega church with multiple campuses, as well as a very small church where, heaven forbid, they actually had me singing on the worship team, as well as leading youth ministry and media and all of that good stuff. So I have been in full-time ministry. My dad's actually a pastor. This is his 50th year of full-time ministry, and he's still working full-time. So I've been around the church my entire life. I actually got started in health insurance because we probably went through something similar to some of your churches. We got a letter in the mail 25 years ago. We had Nationwide as our health insurance provider, and they sent a letter out that said, "Hey, we're getting out of health insurance. Good luck. You've got to find your own." And so we got that letter and started looking around for health insurance. And I was a youth pastor at the time at my dad's small church. We had our first child and was making $20,000 a year, which my wife told me wasn't going to cut it. And so when I actually found a health insurance company that said, "We'll give you a discount on your health insurance premiums if you're an agent with us and sell health insurance," I thought, well, this could be interesting. At least I'll save some money on my own premiums. And if I pick up a few dollars helping some other people with their health insurance, even better. Here I am 25 years later. I have been working with some large companies, including Allstate Health. I actually put together the platform for QuickBooks that serves thousands of small businesses every month. They go through their process and look at health insurance. And so what I wanted to do, I felt led to do, was about 2 years ago, start putting together a program for churches so that churches could also find a way out of some of the traditional health insurance programs that are available that they just don't know about. We wanted to be able to help any church, regardless of size, regardless of what state they're in, and regardless of their budget. And so there's not a one size fits all for that. So we've cobbled together a handful of different strategies, carriers, partners, and able to do that. But really our mission is to help the church. Most churches are overpaying for their health insurance. And we know that every dollar you save is going to be able to go into more kingdom work, I actually don't make any money with BSA. Any money that comes in from carriers by putting the programs in place, most of it goes right back to our partners like Spire. So this is really a ministry for us. We're excited that you're on the call today and want to just share some insights with you. You're not going to like this slide, although you already know it. The premiums and the out-of-pocket expenses are really on an unsustainable path. Most people just focus on the fact that our premiums have gone up 75% over the last 14 years. But in addition to that, out-of-pocket expenses have grown by more than double that. And so not only are we putting more and more of the burden on our employees when their premiums go up, but they're also having to pay more just to have the insurance in their pocket. And just like me, you've probably seen, videos on social media. Hey, I didn't have health insurance, and I'm getting a cash deal, and it's so much better. A lot of that may be true, and we can talk to you about some strategies that can leverage much lower premiums, but still have some coverage for the catastrophic. You don't get a video of someone that's had a $2 million cancer treatment on there because they're just kind of left out. So I want you to understand where some of these costs are coming from and what we're doing to help contain those with some of the strategies I want to share with you today. First of all, it's hospital consolidation and market power. So when there's less competition, the hospitals can demand higher prices from insurers, and they certainly are. One of the things most people aren't aware of is that before the Affordable Care Act, most health insurance plans had a maximum of $1 million either per year or lifetime. So hospitals would never charge more than that because they knew they weren't going to be getting that back. But sure enough, as soon as the Affordable Care Act passed, which made all expenses, regardless of how high they are, have to be covered by insurance companies, we started to see $1.4 million claims, $2.2 million claims. I just heard from a TPA last month of a $7 million claim that they got in because when the hospital charges it, the insurance companies are forced to pay it because of the Affordable Care Act. So less competition, hospitals are demanding higher prices. And so that's one of the main driving costs. The other thing is lack of price transparency. So the fact that these hospitals can charge up to $7 million for a treatment, and we have no idea what all that includes. You may have seen that this happens like with an MRI. You could go to a hospital-owned facility, and that MRI could be $2,000 to $4,000. You don't see it until you get the EOB. But for anything that you're shopping on your own for, you may call an MRI imaging center and be able to get that same service for $400 to $800. So that's 3 to 5 times the price when we don't know the cost. And I really do believe in consumerism. If you take a look at things like our televisions, when flat screen TVs came out, they were very heavy and over $10,000 for a 42-inch plasma. Now you can get that same TV for $200 and it weighs very little and the picture quality is much better. That's because consumers have to pay that price and they get better quality and lower price. People say that doesn't happen with medical, but it absolutely does. I actually had LASIK eye surgery about 10 years ago. LASIK eye surgery isn't covered by most insurance plans. And so you're treated more like a customer. They have a very good price, very good procedures, very good follow-up because you're paying for those things out of pocket. And over the course of time, the costs have actually gotten down and the quality and the outcomes have gotten better. So having some price transparency, injecting some consumerism into the process is absolutely going to help drive those costs down. And then unfortunately, most of the costs are now coming because we're driving it with our utilization for chronic diseases. 6 to 9% of the members spend 80 to 90% of the plan dollars. And chronic conditions now account for 90% of all healthcare spending. Those things can be brought down or completely eliminated if we simply had more knowledge and were better stewards of our bodies and of the choices that we're making. So we're going to talk a little bit about that later on. So the programs that we're doing to try and help with this is instead of just having these national networks, well, by having national networks instead of just state and local. So working with larger carriers that have a national footprint do help us as carriers and help the providers not be able to price gouge when it comes to what they're charging the insurance companies. But the best model is what's called reference-based pricing. And if you haven't heard of that, reference-based pricing is based on external benchmarks, not the hospital's demands. And so by being able to use reference-based pricing as our model, it completely takes the demands from the healthcare providers at the hospitals out of the loop. They have a set agreed upon price directly with us, and it's much lower, which keeps those premiums much lower as well. By having consumerism in the programs, either by using a health savings account, which brings consumerism all the way down to the individual level, or a level funded program, which we'll talk about, where as an employer, you know a little bit more of the spend that's going on and can help your employees manage those things. A lot of people don't realize, like an urgent care visit may only cost $250, whereas an emergency room might cost $1,500. And so just by having some tools and some incentives there for the employees to make better decisions is going to be really important. And when it comes to the utilization increases because of chronic disease, there are federally backed programs for these high users where there's no drop off in coverage or increase in out of pocket for those, but being able to kind of massage a plan around, and if one person's expenses would crush the whole group, if we can give them an equal or better plan that takes them out of the risk pool for the small group and gives them a bigger risk pool to be a part of, which is put in place by these federal programs. We've been able to save a lot of employers money and keep their rate increases under double digits. And then we've got a wellness program that we're going to talk about that gives you the knowledge and tools for better stewardship, something I'm really excited about. So we'll talk just a little bit about some of these health insurance strategies, and then we'll certainly answer any questions that you guys have. We do have the traditional health plans. We've got MECs, which is a minimum essential coverage option. We could do a standalone level funded or self-funded, but the two programs and strategies that I want to focus this webinar on is a self-funded captive and help you understand what that is, and then an ICHRA. You may have heard of an ICHRA, an individual coverage health reimbursement arrangement. It's growing by leaps and bounds. It's only been around for about 5 years, but we're seeing more and more employers adopt that model, which gets them out of the group renewal cycle altogether. But a level funded captive versus level funded standalone, a lot of churches we've talked to that have gone level funded, it works well for a year or two. They do underwrite the group, and based on the health of the group, could potentially give you a rate that's better than a fully insured small group plan. The problem with traditional level funded plans is as soon as you have some claims, you're going to see a rate increase. We talked to a small church just a month or two ago that had a 200% rate increase on their level funded plan. And so something like that just kind of completely blows you out of the water. You've got to do something immediately. Nobody's prepared for a 200% rate increase in something that's already one of their top 3 expenses. And so what a level funded captive does is it pools other level funded groups into one large group and spreads the risk over those groups. And we've been able to form a captive with our partner, and all of the programs, all of the people that are a part of that are in the faith-based space, either employers or churches. Coverage like abortion and sex change operations, things that may be mandated at a state level, are not included in this program. We don't have alcohol abuse and drug use, so a lot of the vices, if you will, that can drive some of these healthcare costs that are in a typical risk pool are not in our captive. These are all churches and faith-based employers that are a part of this. Several thousand members already and growing, and so much more stable long term, and you're sharing that risk with like-minded people. So we'll talk a little bit about that. Our solutions, as I mentioned, our goal setting out was to make sure any size, any state, any budget We are using robust state-of-the-art technology for shopping, enrolling, and managing the plans and the programs. We do have an advocacy program built in that features AI and human engagements to help get the full use and understanding of all the benefits the employees are eligible for. And then we have a corporate health and wellness program that teaches the root causes and equips employees with tools to make meaningful, practical, and doable lifestyle choices. So we'll talk a little bit about that as well. On the technology side, as I mentioned, we do have some great tools that the employers can fund, even at an individual employee level. If you're not doing something as a group and funding anything, we can manage the quoting and the enrollment. If they're eligible for subsidies in the individual market, we can share those with them as well. But we do have a great app, regardless of which strategy you use, can be configured to help your employees know exactly what they've got. So we'll talk a little bit about individual coverage. Individual coverage is simply that. So if your group's currently not offering a group solution, or as an employer, you don't have it within the budget to pay for health insurance for your employees, we want to be able to help them anyway. We want to help them get the right health insurance plan. A lot of people don't realize that there's some deltas that are created in the individual market as well as in the group market, where you could go to a slightly higher deductible and out of pocket and fill that gap that was created with secondary insurance that's much less than if you just bought a silver or gold plan. And so we want to walk them through the complete strategies, make sure that they understand it. In addition to the ACA plans, major medical healthcare sharing ministry program, OneShare has been a great partner. They've got plans starting at under $100. So we make those available and want to make sure that each employee or each individual is making the right decision based on their budget, their lifestyle, pre-existing conditions, networks of hospitals and doctors that they want to be part of the plan, prescription drugs that they may be on. We'll walk them through all of the options available to them and help make sure that they've got the right coverage. I want to talk about our two group strategies now, the captive with Vault. As I mentioned, this was created specifically for Christian-owned businesses, churches, and faith-based nonprofits. We do have two plan designs that I'll show you. Each employee can actually choose the best plan for them. We do need a minimum of 3 participating, so we can go down to very small groups. I'll show you the different plan designs, but even at 3, each employee could choose. So if you want to choose an HSA plan, another employee wants to choose the silver plan, that's an option. If you have over 100 employees, we can actually customize the plan design and either match what you currently have and just be able to do that at a discount, or create something specific for you based on deductibles, copay ranges, coinsurance, out-of-pocket max that you would prefer. They all use the Vault Cares network. This Vault Cares network is in addition to either the reference-based pricing or the national Cigna network that you would have the option of in this captive. This is a heavily vetted system of top-tier facilities and providers. This includes the Mayo Clinic, all of their locations. What's great about this is, in addition to you and all of your employees having access to the Mayo Clinic, Vault does so much business with them, and I've been a dear friend of the owner for 15 years, have worked with him to put this program together. He cares so much about what we're doing in this space that access to the Vault Cares network can actually be extended to your congregation. Now, they have to have their own insurance. They have to have a way to pay the claim, but getting into the Mayo Clinic is not easy. Even on insurance carriers that have it in network, it can take up to 3 months to get an appointment. But if you guys were on this plan and you shot me an email or gave me a call and said, "Hey, Josh, we've got someone that needs access to the Mayo Clinic," we have a way that we can get them access within 48 hours. And so it's a very cool program. We're super excited about it. The other thing that is important about that is being able to have a second opinion from one of these top tier facilities. 60% of all spine surgeries should never happen. 35% of cancer is misdiagnosed. 40% of cardiac bypasses are inappropriate. So I know our doctors and nurses and these hospitals, they try and do the best that they can, but they're operating on information, on instincts, and they just don't always get it right. And so being able to have that second opinion, have something like a Mayo Clinic, all the travel covered, be able to go there, have peace of mind that you're doing the right thing before you go through an organ transplant or a cardiac bypass, something like that is really important. There's even some offshore facilities. I know the owner has been to Puerto Rico a couple times for stem cell treatment on both a shoulder and a knee that he had surgically repaired. So really cool stuff that's not part of any other traditional health insurance plan. So I just want to show you what those two plan designs for the under 100 groups look like. A silver plan, so it's going to meet the silver level requirements of the ACA. $3,000 individual deductible, $6,000 family, $10 office visit copays, $50 specialist, $75 urgent care, $150 emergency room. So a very good plan, a great prescription program as well. And then the HSA plan design, if you're not familiar with HSAs, this is my preferred plan design where it's a much higher deductible, but the premiums are lower. And with this plan design, you're allowed to take that difference or as much as you want up to the IRS limits, almost $8,000 this year, and put that into a tax-free account. It's the only account that is what's called triple tax-free. So it's tax-free going in. It'll grow and earn interest tax-free. And then as long as you're spending it on medical expenses, it's tax-free as well. Now you have to have an HSA plan design to deposit money in, but if you ever left that plan design and you still have money in there, you can use it for those medical expenses going forward, even if you can no longer contribute. A lot of people save and let that balance build up because most of our medical expenses happen after age 65. So we might be on a Medicare plan that's going to cover the big stuff, but there's some gaps in that, and you can use your HSA dollars to cover all of that as well. So I'm going to show you what our rates are for this program. They're not firm. We would have to do a little bit of underwriting. It takes less than 5 minutes for each employee to do. But if you take a look at the national average, for a silver plan for single coverage, you're looking at about $825. We have the Cigna network, which is going to be a little bit more expensive. And then my preference is the reference-based pricing. There are very few metro regions, the Dallas-Fort Worth area in particular, where I wouldn't recommend reference-based pricing. Everywhere else in the country, reference-based pricing is super strong. So hundreds of dollars less per month in premium with these plan designs. There's 4 tiers: single, member plus spouse, member plus children, and then family coverage. And even here, if you look at these programs, less than $2,000 a month, less than $1,400 for the HSA plan design. Significant savings over the national averages. I wanted to put these out here just so you'd see exactly what they are. And if they're less than you're paying now, then that's great. We'd love to see if this is a better fit, more coverage, a better plan design, and lower premiums. If this is already out of your budget or what you guys would expect to be paying, we would talk to you about some of the other options that we have. One of those other options.
Josh, there's a few questions on that. What was the frequency? How often were those expenses? Is that monthly, yearly? What was
these premiums?
Yeah.
Yeah, this is the monthly premium.
Monthly. And then can employees be spread across the 3 different categories?
They can choose either the silver or the HSA plan design. But at the employer level, you'd have to choose if you want the Cigna network or the reference-based pricing network.
Nice. Nice. We do just want to remind everybody, we have a chat. If you've got questions that come up, we have a few others we're going to hold till the end. I want to encourage and remind you to drop those on there, and we'll have a time for those questions. Sorry to interrupt, Josh. Go ahead.
No, I appreciate it. Jump in. I can't see you on my screen, so just say something. If you're waving at me, I won't. But yeah, so this other strategy I wanted to talk about is what's called an ICHRA, or Individual Coverage Health Reimbursement Arrangement. The idea behind an ICHRA is that instead of choosing a plan, even with the plans we just showed, an employee could choose from one of two plan designs, but they're all with the same carrier. What employers are able to do with an ICHRA is simply decide the amount of money they want to give tax-free for employees to buy individual coverage on their own. Now, when we first started talking about that model 15 years ago, group health insurance was guaranteed issue, individual was medically underwritten, and it was a steeper climb to get employees and individuals access to those plans. But there's really been a flip over the last, the Affordable Care Act made individual coverage guaranteed issue. And then the emergence of these level funded plans bringing underwriting into group is kind of flipped the model a little bit. But it's also what we're seeing in the last 7 years is that the individual premiums have stabilized. Right after the Affordable Care Act, they kind of spiked when they were trying to price in what that guaranteed issue model would do to individual coverage. But if you look at group premiums versus individual over the last 7 years, individual's only grown by 3%, and group has grown by 38%. So even if ICHRA is not the best solution for you today, it may be within the next few years if that group premium keeps outpacing individual insurance right now. If you've got a pretty young staff, if they have pre-existing conditions, this is going to be a better model because all of these plans are guaranteed issue, and the individual market has much, much bigger risk pools. These carriers that are in the individual market are able to spread those risks amongst millions of other members that they have in that risk pool. So the way that this works, and we're using some slides from Thatch, our partner in administering these plans. Let's look at Maria here. So if she had a $750 healthcare budget, she could spend $500 of that on her health insurance premium. She could use $100 of it for her prescriptions every month. And then Thatch has a marketplace that's pretty unique. So things that are eligible expenses, maybe it's supplements that she would want to take, even an Aura ring or a Peloton. There's some really cool stuff in there that are eligible expenses that she could use. And then we've got another $50 here that would be available to her in this Visa card for her expenses. Now, if she doesn't use all of the dollars, because it's a health reimbursement arrangement, the business, actually the church, would keep those additional funds. Now, if she spends them, she's got an eligible expense, they're reimbursed. Thatch handles all of that. You don't have to do anything other than set the budget. But if there is money left over, if she's not using all of that money, the church is able to retain it. And so you set a budget, the employee enrolls in a health plan, Thatch handles all of that. They select their health products and services from the marketplace, and everything else is handled. So really simplifies what you're able to do as an employer. So Maria could go out and choose a Blue Cross, a United, an Ambet, or any of the carriers that are available to her in her market. So what Thatch is able to do is help make sure that the carriers that have her doctors, her prescriptions, all of those plans are in the plan that she chooses. One of the things when we talked about those networks, when you're doing a group plan, let's say you've got a dozen employees, you have to try and make sure the network is wide enough that all of the dozen employees, doctors, hospitals, are in that network. So you need things like a PPO plan. An HMO or an EPO, which are smaller networks, are fine for an individual as long as that network has their doctors and providers in it. Regardless of the network, if it's an emergency, everything is included as in-network. But that helps bring those costs of the individual plans down as well, because you're not having to overpay for a network that's not going to be used anyway. In addition to doing a flat allowance, one of the things that ICHRA allows is what's called a smart allowance. So if you do have employees in different states, so this example, we've got one in San Francisco that's 26, one in Atlanta that's 33 with 3 dependents, one in Texas that's 40 with 2 dependents. The the allowance is you can base it on a benchmark plan for all of your employees. So you can say, I want to give my employees enough to cover a silver plan in the marketplace. That would be a different amount for each employee, but that's allowed by law because you've set a benchmark plan. And it's really the more fair way to do it so that the distribution of cost is equal based on everybody. So even within the same zip code, if you have a single 26-year-old, 33-year-old with 3 kids, and a 40-year-old with 2 dependents, their premiums are going to be different because they're age rated and based on how many dependents are there. So it's a great way to do it. We really think that there's some cool tools that Thatch uses that can give you exactly what that budget would look like and what all of your employees would be able to purchase for that. All right, so I want to shift gears just for a second. This is my time to talk a little bit about these things that I don't like talking about, which is the fact that even though we're spending so much money, we are just not getting good value, guys. We're spending so much, and we're the lowest performing of any of the other modern countries. And it's not because we don't have a great healthcare system. It's because the food that we eat and the model that we have for healthcare is just, it's become a bit corrupted. There's stuff you see in the news every week about some of these forever chemicals and heavy metals being in our food. I think the Make America Healthy Again group is doing a great job of trying to bring some of this out. I heard they're going to do some new labeling system where the toxicity of the ingredients have to be color coded, which is going to be great. But I really believe this is a kingdom versus empire issue. I do believe that big medicine, big pharma, big food, because they're driven by profits and greed, have become a little bit infested with corruption and fraud. We see this in some of the studies that are out there. Studies that say, hey, this isn't the problem, that's the problem. And then we find out that that study was funded by the people that they're protecting, and they're being paid to say these kinds of things. And I just truly believe in my heart, in my spirit, that God's design for us is better than being stuck in this cycle of poor nutrition, bad health, treating symptoms rather than root causes. And so we don't have to conform to the pattern of this world. There is a truth. I am really excited about this wellness program that we've baked into every single part of what we're doing. If we take a look at just one example is bread. So prior to the 1900s, wheat was milled at home. In order to make shelf stable, the germ and the bran were sifted from wheat. So all we got left was the endosperm, which is what feeds the germ and the bran. And they bleach it. They add things like vitamin B and iron. Our body has no active way to eliminate excess iron. And so when iron oxidizes, it turns into rust. So we've got these particles in our body that are just not good. And so we've grown this gluten intolerance. Bread is bad, causes weight gain, insulin spike, and all of this. I personally have done paleo. I've done carnivore and got rid of all breads until I learned the truth. And I always wonder, the Bible talks so much about bread. Like it's hard for me when Jesus says, I am the bread of life, and then my mind immediately has a negative reaction to bread. But it's just not the case. If we look at fresh milled whole wheat flour, it's one of the most nutritionally complete single foods, containing a large percentage of essential nutrients, 40 of the 44. There's no other food like it. But once you mill wheat, it oxidizes within 12 to 24 hours. So it's not a sustainable model for us to buy, for them to sell flour like that to us. We don't have a local mill we can go down and get this. I love this in Deuteronomy. It was actually the one thing in Mosaic law that you couldn't take from someone as a pledge against a loan was their mill or upper millstone, because that was life. That was being able to make bread daily was so important. And so, I literally milled wheat in my basement this morning. Took less than 5 minutes. It's just a machine, just like you grind coffee beans, throw it in the bread maker. My wife's got a loaf going right now. I've done this program that we're talking about. I'm off of my medications in less than 3 months. I eat bread and muffins made from whole wheat and I lose weight every day. It's incredible. And I just feel like we've been lied to by so much. But we've worked with Dr. Ben Edwards to put this program together, and he wanted to just say a quick word about this.
Hey everybody, I'm Dr. Ben Edwards, founder of Veritas Wellness. For 10 years, I practiced as a conventional medical doctor, and then 10 more years, I practiced as an integrative holistic doctor. The reason I made that transition because my eyes were open to the fact that Americans are the sickest country in the world, spending the most money to get the worst outcomes. We're the dead last place team, guys. Half of us are pre-diabetic or diabetic. 75% of us are obese or overweight. There's over 100 autoimmune diseases now. 1 out of 2 people are going to have cancer in their lifetime. Kids now getting adult cancers like a stage 4 colon cancer in a 10-year-old. It is out of control, guys. You could go right down the line with all these diseases that are skyrocketing. Heart disease, your #1 killer. 700,000 people a year in America will die from heart disease. It started in 1912. The first heart attack ever recorded was in 1912, and there was only one in the whole country. I didn't learn any of this in medical school. But once I did learn this, I wanted to bring this to the masses, and that's what we're doing. We're bringing you the truth. And the truth is all these diseases have one root cause common denominator, and it's this. Your cells can no longer take food that you eat and turn it into ATP energy. Cellular energy deficiency. That's the root cause. And there's no pill that will fix it. There's a time and place for pharmaceutical symptom management, but that's all it is management. To get to the root cause and fix it and no longer need the management from medications, you've got to address your diet and lifestyle choices. What goes in your mouth and what goes in your mind. Our thinking actually impacts our DNA. I want to teach you that and so much more. But here's the main point, guys. You're the cure. A doctor can't cure you. You need the knowledge. So I look forward to partnering with you and jumping on the platform and educating you more so that you can walk in true health.
So part of this program, we've worked with Dr. Ben and his team to be able to put the membership that he has created. Normally costs about $30 a month. I actually joined it before I ever talked to Dr. Ben. And once I started seeing what all was in there, I said, we got to bring this to the churches. So they've worked with us. They've significantly lowered the premium of this product so that we could embed it in these programs that we work with. But there's tons of content that's educational. There's some great community programs that you can be involved in. There's advanced lab testing. So it's really incredible to just kind of learn about some of these diseases and be able to reverse them. It's obviously a credit to God that He's created our bodies that for me personally, over 40 years, I can make bad decisions and within 3 months reverse many of those just by doing the right things. He really has created us in a remarkable way. So really, really excited to be bringing that not only to you, but to your staffs. I think there's so much more energy and life that we can have if we're educated on the right way to do things. And the last thing I want to talk about, and then we'll jump into the Q&A. Regardless of what you do on the medical side, if you're offering a group plan or if we go the route of the ICHRA, there is actually a tax savings preventative care strategy. You do need at least 5 participating employees for this. My own church has been on this program for 3 years now. There's 0 net cost. Because of the tax incentives that are there for offering these programs and emphasizing preventative care to your employees, you actually save a net of $56.80 a month per employee. And the average take-home pay increase for your employees is almost $100. So you can save money at the church. You can have your employees see a bigger paycheck, all while adding these additional benefits, things like virtual primary care, virtual urgent care, simply for them participating in these things and engaging in some of they don't have to, do a bunch of lab work and stuff. They just have to participate in the program. We'll show them it's super easy, but by participating in it, it unlocks an incredible amount of those tax savings. So, we've got some more webinars coming up with you guys about property and liability coverage and background checks and some of the other things that we do. at BSA. Again, all of it is structured with leveraging the power of the group, thousands of churches across the country. We've negotiated, pulled them together, negotiated with these companies to get better rates and to give some of the revenue that's generated back to nonprofits like Spire. I may have met some of you at this last fall's event in Louisville. We're excited to be a part of Spire Conference 2026. And we wanted to give you guys a special offer. If you've not signed up, or even if you have, we've got $100 towards your Spire Conference registration if you complete a one-on-one call with us. So if you go to the link here, spire.bizsavershub.com, schedule a time for us to talk. We'll walk through what you're doing, what you want to be doing. We'll see what the budget is, what you'd like for your budget to be, and at least be able to guide you in the right direction. And just for taking time to talk with us, we've got a code that can give you $100 towards that conference registration. So we're super excited about that, and looking forward to seeing some of you in person. So Chaz, I know you might have gotten a few questions along the way.
Sure did. Well, thank you, Josh. That all was so helpful. And just on behalf of Spire, we're so grateful to be a partner with you, and really want to encourage you to take that chance. I dropped the link that Josh was referring to in the chat to schedule some time. So helpful. Just a little bit of your time with them, and they'll really be able to set you up. So, yeah, the first question that I got, and I want to encourage, if there's something more context or something that would be helpful, I invite you to turn on your camera and follow up with the question. But Joe asked, any challenges created by pre-existing conditions with small churches in particular?
Yeah, certainly. So things like that level funded program would not be a good option if there are pre-existing conditions within the church. So we do have some other strategies, some that are lower cost. And then there's the ICHRA program, which is great depending on the age of the employees. It can be a little bit higher cost. Regardless of which health insurance solution we place them with, the content from Dr. Ben, he's been able to help people reverse so many of those. If we're not born with it, more than likely we can reverse it. And so even type 2 diabetes, we've seen liver disease, kidney disease, so many pre-existing conditions reversed within months of engaging with Dr. Ben and his staff. So yes, we would be able to find an insurance solution that's going to be appropriate if you have pre-existing conditions. But more importantly, if God designed our body to heal from those pre-existing conditions, let's get that information out there too.
That's good. Cynthia asked, is Kaiser an option with these plans?
Yeah, it absolutely is, both on the group and individual side. So if you're not aware, based on where you live, there's some national carriers like United Healthcare, and they're in most states. They do business as a different name. There's over 70 Blue Cross Blue Shields. Most people don't realize there's multiple Blue Crosses, but Kaiser's one of those that's in a certain number of states, both on the individual and group market. And we're able to quote and enroll for those programs as well. That would fall under the ICHRA model or a traditional group model if we just quote their group plan.
And then, Cynthia, you'll have to help me if I don't get this question right, but are premiums based on age too? Like, does the age shift the premium?
It can. In the level funded that we showed, it basically aggregates those and comes up with one number. In the individual market, it allows up to a 3-to-1 ratio. So if the premium for a 23-year-old is $200, the premium for a 63-year-old could be as high as $600, but it can never go past a 3-to-1 ratio.
Perfect. Again, if your question, you got other context or it spurs something else, feel free to even raise your hand on the React bar, and we can call and you can ask Josh directly. We do have a few more questions here. I believe we answered Melissa's question on being spread across the two different categories. She also asked, all our employees are in a very small town in Georgia, but we are so far away from medical providers in Georgia that we often have to seek care in Florida, 1 mile away. Can these plans support this need?
Absolutely, yeah. So the small group plan, the level funded plan is national, especially with the reference-based pricing. You can go to any provider, and then on the individual market, very similarly, there's carriers like I have Ambetter on the individual market, which is in Georgia and Florida. So they have a national network that the 26 states that they're in are able to go to. So we would be able to kind of fine tune it for each employee.
Nice. Well, Josh, congratulations. You survived the gauntlet of Spire webinar questions. If there are other questions, invite you to follow up now and ask them. But again, thank you everyone for your time. I want to really encourage you to hit that link, spire.bizsavershub.com, to schedule the time with Josh and his team. Josh is going to be at Spire again this year, and we hope you're thinking and planning about that as well to join us for the Spire conference, and happening into September, beginning of October.
Yeah, listen, before we say goodbye, I know we've got Easter right around the corner, and I'm sure all of you are just swamped with that stuff. So even if it's a month from now, keep that link. Reach out to us. Let's schedule some time to talk. We're not going to take a ton of your time, but it really is such an important issue. If you want to wait until you get that increase, and when Chad sends out the recording, just stick it in an archive folder somewhere. And when you get that increase, pull it up. We want to work with you whenever the time is right. But it really is our heart to see more dollars go towards the kingdom, to see more of our church leaders and pastors living healthier lives and being able to not be at the hospital, not be on these prescription drugs, and not be paying so much. So love you guys, love all that you do. Hope you all have great Easter services coming up. I know it's the kind of the Super Bowl for the church world here, and praying for all of you. And we really appreciate your time today.
Thanks, Josh. That's a good way to end it. And just as he said, I will send out a replay and the slide deck. So if that's helpful for you to be able to look through. Thanks again for your time, and hope you have a wonderful Thursday.
Thanks.